this video, I'm going to introduce you to the first ever perpetual calendar chronograph models. They're all red gold. 2 of them are from the air, 1 of them is from the land. Which one of these 3 are you going to take home and steal today? You'll know by the end of this video. Let's go. I'm Buzzing, I'm at Breitling, and we have 3 watches to celebrate the brand's 140th anniversary. And they house the first ever Breitling in-house perpetual calendar chronograph based on the B01 in-house chronograph movement. And now Breitling have developed their own perpetual calendar module, the B19. My naked wrist is screaming, what is going on? It's the longest time it's been without a watch for years. So let's fix that and start with the most iconic of all, the Navitimer. The Navitimer is the obvious choice because it is the iconic Breitling watch. And when George Kern hosted me in the London Breitling boutique and I made him choose one watch to rule them all, there is absolutely no mistake that he chose this watch. It was first launched in 1952 and it has the first wristwatch flight computer in the form of this slide rule. I'm going to slide this watch onto my wrist right now. So what first strikes you when you put this watch on the wrist is that I would say the symmetry and configuration of the B19 perpetual calendar, the way this presents on the dial, and what a dial this is, by the way. 18 karat, a solid 18 karat gold dial. So you've got this really lush, velvety sunray that sort of moves across the dial as you change the angle of your wrist. Another nice touch about this watch is actually hidden. The rotor has an engraving of the first ever location for a Breitling manufacturer, which was Montbrilliant Street, which is actually just down the street from us where we are right now in Le Chaux-de-Fonds in Switzerland. All in all, this really is close to the Navitimer to rule them all. It has the extra complication of the perpetual calendar in addition to the slide rule and the chronograph. It houses practically all of Breitling's key moments, innovations, iconic references, and it's in this lustrous red gold that carries right through to the dial. And I love that the dial is also in 18 karat red gold. So really, I think in our video with George, he chose a salmon dial Navitimer in the London boutique. If this had been there, I think I would have chosen this, and I think I would have trumped him. Let's move on to the modern Chronomat. What a beast of a watch. I went to pick that up and actually needed to give it a little bit of an extra heft. This is a monster of a watch. And I need to tell you a little story about this because the modern Chronomat is a watch whose origins come from a very unconventional decision. And it's one of these moments in history where you think, what was that person thinking? Ernest Schneider in 1984 is faced with a very grim Swiss watchmaking environment. The quartz crisis has wiped out 70% of the industry. And the decision to launch this watch, the Chronomat, with a mechanical chronograph is just bizarre, but it turns out to be brilliant. There's a whole story there that we're not going to tell today, but this is the latest version of the Chronomat, and it is the Chronomat Perpetual Calendar chronograph featuring the new in-house Breitling perpetual calendar chronograph movement. Now, this is a modern Chronomat, and I'm about to make Marcus very angry because I'm going to tell you the story, quickly come with me, of the first Chronomat, which is from 1940. Now, this watch right here, Marcus, this was the first Breitling wristwatch to feature a slide rule. So while the slide rule has become part of the Navitimer story, it actually started here with a Chronomat, which is a conjunction of chronograph and mathematics, because this has a little wristwatch computer on it. That's all I needed to say. But let's get back to the modern Chronomat, which presents here on a skeletonized dial. Originally, from a distance, I thought this dial was actually asteroid or meteorite, but it is not. It is skeletonized. So, I mean, Marcus always asks me, how do you feel with it on? Tell me how you feel right now. This watch is truly like putting on a superhero costume. It's like putting on armor. Because not only is this absolutely large and in charge in terms of its wrist presence, you also have this, to me, still seemingly meteorite dial because you're seeing glimpses of different layers of steel. and different shades of grey through that skeletonized dial. And then you contrast that with a super shiny black ceramic bezel with these rider tabs. The rider tabs here that are raised at 3, 6, 9 and 12 are there to help you manipulate this bezel, especially with your aviation, your flying gloves on, which means that you really need to be able to have some raised elements in order to get purchase on that bezel. So I'm looking at this with its rider tabs, its black ceramic bezel, and quite a lovely brushed finish to the gold. I honestly feel like I could punch through a wall with this thing on. So this is my superhero choice of the three. Another from the Air Pillar, the Chronomat, perpetual calendar, chronograph, B19 movement. And now the last watch, it's time to land this plane, as I like to say. Let's bring it down to the Land Pillar and the Premier. Now, Premier, what's in a name? Two things. The Premier was first released by Willie Breitling, and Premier related to first, as in first class, and Premier was also the first watch to be taken from the whole world of Breitling that it had existed before to somewhere new. It was the first watch that stepped away from Breitling as a measurement of time, Breitling as a professional instrument, Breitling as an aviation watch, a military timepiece. And there's a phrase that kept coming up in the stories around the Premier, which is it provided an escape from the war mood. Willie Breitling was in his late 20s, early 30s when he designed the Premier, and he wanted something romantic, something optimistic, something handsome and beautiful to take people's minds off what had just happened in the war. And this was the answer. One of, I have to say, the most handsome looking timepieces I have ever seen. The Premier quickly became associated with complications and again with this lovely aesthetics of the time. Therefore, this watch was born to house a perpetual calendar. There it is. Look, this is an exceedingly thick watch. There is no two ways about that. However, Breitling have gone to great lengths to mitigate that effect with this angled slope which meets the crystal from the main case, which is a polished element, and then we have this box crystal, and then you do have these lines etched into the main case, and you have the sloping flanks of the lugs with different polished and satin brushed elements. So overall, while the watch is undeniably thick, Breitling have really added many, many elements of distraction and intrigue to make that fact less obvious aesthetically. This is not a watch that you're buying to be a diminutive dress watch. This is a watch you're buying as a statement, as a watch that wants to be seen, that wants to have a question asked about it, and potentially wants to complete your outfit in a way that is not very subtle. I personally love it, but I want to ask you a question. Which of these three models capture your attention? Which one of these three appear to you as the most desirable? Thank you so much for watching Time+Tide. Happy birthday, Breitling, 140 years. This is another step in the next development of Breitling as they move from their reconstruction phase where they've made everything simple and understandable. Now comes the watchmaking esteem phase where they build complications back into the catalogue and where ultimately all of their watches become in-house movements. It's an exciting journey to be on. See you on the next one.